Well, I think at the present moment we're seeing the imperial meltdown in the American empire. It takes the form of the relative eclipse of any integrity, honesty, decency, generosity, compassion among the vast majority of those who rule. You always have a prophetic slice of those who rule. And so you have both the wealth inequality on the one hand, you have the denial of the ecological catastrophe coming, or if not the denial, the sense that somehow you can continually hold it back and defer. And what we need is a more massive awakening of poor and working people and people who care, people who are willing to serve something bigger than their own careers or their own opportunity for their individual project. We're losing the sense of we-ness. We're losing a sense of collective project. And we on the left, we're so fragmented that we're unable to come up with a language that is strong enough to create solidarity across the board. But it's got to be solidarity in the face of empire, which means when you talk about imperial rule, which when you talk about foreign policies that are preoccupied with just profit and political manipulation, rather than allowing the indigenous peoples in any parts of the world to live lives that they can, in such a way that they can flower and flourish, which means you have to have serious discussions about the U.S. imperial role in Latin America, the U.S. imperial role in the Middle East. You have to have honest conversations about Israeli occupation of Palestinians, honestly about the occupation of Kashmir in Tibet, critiques of authoritarian rulers in Africa. There has to be a strong moral consistency tied to political courage to tell the truth in the name of poor and working people who are catching hell. Poor and working people tend to be an afterthought. There's a growing callousness and indifference of elites vis-a-vis poor and working people. They feel as if they can get away with anything, with impunity, immunity, no accountability. That's what it means to live in a right-wing moment. And that right-wing moment is taking the form of an authoritarian populism, of a chauvinistic, narrow nationalistic populism, but it's headed toward neo-fascism, and that's what's frightening, it seems to me. Now we on the left, we're fighting, but we need much more vision, fight, collective action, solidarity across the board. We got to leak dollars in India, to peasants in Brazil, to workers in Jamaica, to workers in Nevada, New York. If we don't have an international connection against the imperial forces that are coming at us, we're going under.
How do we as agents, media, or even politicians or intellectuals bring that unity together?
I think, one, we have to try to exemplify it in what we say and do. Whatever visibility we have, to put forward that international vision, the analysis of empire capitalism, patriarchy, homophobia, white supremacy, male supremacy. But then beyond that, I think we have to be parts of groups. We have to be parts of collectivities that are trying to make a difference. Because, for example, you know, when we were there in Standing Rock, it wasn't abstract at all. It was very concrete. It was fleshified in a very, very potent and poignant way. When you're in the context of a Ferguson and you're getting support from folks struggling in the on the West Bank and Gaza, that's not abstract at all. That's very, very real. It's just a matter of people being able to see it more clearly and also feel it. So you got to feel it. You got to feel that love, support, affirmation, solidarity. But it's grounded on something moral and spiritual. It's because they care, because we care. See, it's not just a matter of skin pigmentation, not just a matter of gender, it's not just a matter of sexual orientation. It's because as a human being, you care about this other precious human being who's catching hell. Well, one is that we've got to raise our voices by means of our witness and say that these brothers and sisters who are on their way to the border are catching hell in part because of U.S. imperial policies. In Honduras, we support the military coup. We could just start there. Massive repression, massive regimentation, and domination. But the first thing is, how do you treat them with dignity? We can coordinate it with the Mexican authorities. How do you treat them with dignity? How do you proceed in such a way that they're already being afraid, they're already feeling so insecure and full of anxiety, somehow can be lessened because you are concerned with treating them with respect, with a fairness, and anyone in a higher power, a higher level of power, must be accountable. And that doesn't mean that doesn't generate one policy. There can be a variety of different policies that we come up with. But if it's a policy that's disrespectful, that is thoroughly unfair, and does not understand the context in which they find themselves, then that's cold-hearted and mean-spirited. And all cold-hearted and mean-spirited actions tend to come back at you. Chickens do come home to roost sooner or later. That's true for empires, and that's true for corporate elites. That's true for individuals in our lives. It's true for a community.